This is a story passed down in my family for generations. It's more of a fairy tale than a factual account. But it is a treasure that holds great value to us. It begins hundreds of thousands of years ago in a small village near the Rocky Mountain, known as Scale Nest. The village got its name because the mountain resembled an enormous pile of scales, and birds from all around the world would come there to breed and raise their young. In Scale Nest, the villagers never knew hunger. Nature provided them with everything they needed: berries, mushrooms, vegetables, and meat. If they were lucky, they even found eggs that had rolled down the mountain and hadn't broken. However, the villagers never took an egg on the same day they found it. They would wait a few days, and only if no animal or bird claimed the egg would they take it and bake it on a flat stone balanced over a bonfire. In those days, they didn't have pans or modern cooking tools, so they relied on stones. There was a legend among the villagers that if anyone took an egg on the same day they found it, a white dragon would descend from the top of the mountain and leave nothing but ashes in its wake. No one had ever seen this dragon, but everyone believed in it and followed the rule, passing down the tradition from one generation to the next. Life in Scale Nest was harmonious, with people living in tune with the rhythms of nature. The villagers respected the mountain and its creatures, taking only what they needed and ensuring they left enough for others. The village prospered, its people thriving amid the abundance provided by the land. One year, however, a terrible storm swept through the village. It was unlike any storm the villagers had ever seen, with fierce winds and torrential rain that threatened to destroy their homes and crops. The storm lasted for days, and when it finally subsided, the villagers found that much of their food supply had been washed away. Faced with scarcity, for the first time, the villagers were forced to reconsider their customs. As the days passed and hunger set in, a young villager named Alara faced a difficult choice. She found an egg nestled among the rocks, a rare find in such times. Knowing the legend of the white dragon, she hesitated, but eventually decided to take the egg. She convinced herself that the legend was just a tale, and the village's survival was more important than an old superstition. As Alara prepared the egg, she gathered some spices in a forest grove, and when the stone was almost warm enough to start cooking, she felt a chill in the air. The sky darkened, and a distant roar echoed through the mountains. Fearful, she tried to ignore the signs, but the village elders warned her to return the egg immediately. Still, Alara continued preparing the spices, grinding them with a stone, hoping for the best. Suddenly, a blinding light appeared on the mountaintop, and the silhouette of a massive white dragon emerged from the clouds. Its eyes glowed with ancient wisdom and power, and its scales shimmered like 1,000 stars. The villagers watched in awe and terror as the dragon descended upon them. With a mighty roar, it swept its tail across the village, and where it passed, fire erupted, leaving a path of ashes. Alara, realizing her mistake, pleaded for forgiveness. She returned the egg to its rightful place, crying and begging the dragon for mercy. "We need food. Some of the elderly can't endure starvation any longer," she cried. As she laid the egg down, the dragon paused, its fiery gaze softening. In a voice that resonated through the valley, the dragon spoke. "The balance of nature must be respected. Only those who honor it may live in harmony." With those words, the dragon rose into the sky, disappearing into the clouds once more. The whole village was left in terror, fearing for their survival. But then the clouds on the mountain flashed with lightning once again. The dragon returned with an enormous, unknown creature in its huge mouth. It landed the creature and declared, "Here is food for you all, but you will pay the price. Ilara's little sister will come with me." Ilara's heart pounded in her chest as a stunned silence fell over the village. Moments ago, the air had been thick with the fearful villagers, their eyes darting between the dragon and the small house where Ilara's sister had always kept to herself. The little girl, who ventured out only at dusk or under the shelter of clouds, was a mystery to them all. Yet, how could the white dragon, a creature of legend, know of her? The dragon's roar shattered the quiet, a deep, resonant sound that was more commanding than furious. Ilara's breath caught as she glanced around in panic, searching for some sign, some way to stop what was unfolding. Then, as if summoned by the dragon's call, a single beam of sunlight pierced through the heavy clouds, cutting across the village. It fell upon the white dragon, making its scales shimmer with a dazzling light, droplets of water glistening like diamonds as they slid off its body. Slowly, the dragon unfurled one of its immense wings, the movement deliberate and graceful. The wing arched over the village, casting a broad shadow that reached all the way to Ilara's doorstep. The villagers gasped as the shadow's edge touched her home. Then, the doors opened slowly, creaking as they revealed the dim interior. The white dragon's voice echoed through the village, calm and knowing. "I am aware of her condition and what the sun can do to this small but precious child," it said. A little albino girl appeared from the house. She looked around, scared. She looked up at the enormous wing hiding the sunlight, yet shining itself. She approached the dragon. Ilara cried out, "No!" But the girl turned back and said with an unexplainable strength in her voice, "I must go. I feel in my heart that he will do no harm to me." The white dragon growled softly, "I will return her when the time comes." The girl climbed onto the dragon's claws, and they disappeared into the clouds of Scale Nest Mountain. The villagers learned a valuable lesson that day, one that they would never forget. From that moment on, they revered the mountain and its creatures with even greater respect, teaching their children to live by the same principles. The village of Scale Nest flourished once again, its people living in peace and prosperity. The legend of the white dragon continued to be told, a reminder of the power of nature and the importance of living in balance with it. And though no one ever saw the dragon again, its spirit lived on in the hearts of the villagers, guiding them through the ages. And so, the tale of the albino girl and her journey with the dragon would continue, with the promise of her return. But I will tell you about that next time. No, Grandma, please tell me more, just a little bit more, the child said with a nervous voice, her eyes pleading for more. Grandmother smiled. "Oh, my little precious, I won't continue the whole story, but I will tell you a few bits from the next part. That way, you'll be more willing to move faster, because we still have a long road ahead." "Okay, Grandma, I promise I'll keep going," the child replied. "Good then. You gave me a promise," the grandmother said. Her heart was pounding like the wings of a trochilidae, better known to us as a hummingbird. She was sweating like a waterfall, her hand trembling as she reached deeper and deeper into the dragon's throat. The pain from the heat was almost unbearable. The child interrupted. "Ah, is she okay?" Grandmother calmly replied, "Shush, don't interrupt, please." She tangled the vines into thin strips, just as the white dragon had told her, and braided them around a stone. She tried again and again until the braids were so tight that even the mighty stone couldn't fall out. The child exclaimed, "Oh, that sounds pretty." Grandmother rolled her eyes, but smiled at the girl. Her pale skin began to glow faintly. Her light blue eyes started changing. At first, they shrank, looking almost like a mouse's eyes for a second, and then suddenly, almost like an explosion, they shined brightly. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them, they were dark blue and nearly glowing. Her white hair began to change color, turning a deep red. No, not just red, ruby red. "And no," the grandmother said with a chuckle, "I've already told you too much." "But Grandma," the little girl protested. To this, the grandmother replied, "You promised me something." The little girl stood up, took her backpack, and said with joy in her voice, "Hurry up, Granny. The story awaits us at the next stop." She joyfully jumped a few steps ahead, singing, "Her hair is just like mine. Her eyes are just like mine." She stopped for a second and laughed. "No, I'm not the girl. It's just a fairy tale." Grandmother smiled, took her cane, and followed the trail forward.